Welcome back to this up-close special on the Jeffrey Donaldson verdict. Shortly, I'll be joined by Suzanne Breen, the political editor of the Belfast Telegraph, and the commentator Alex Keane. Before that, Sarah Clark looks back on the rise and fall of Sir Jeffrey Donaldson.
Jeffrey Donaldson portrayed himself as a committed unionist, a hard-working politician and a family man. When he won the nomination to stand as MP for Lagan Valley, replacing veteran Ulster Unionist leader James Molyneux, the first person he paid tribute to was his wife Eleanor.
Friends, I couldn't have done what I have done all these years. And I couldn't go out and fight for our cause without the support that Eleanor has given to me down through the years of our marriage.
At 20, he oversaw the Westminster election campaigns for veteran MP Enoch Powell in South Down. 2 years later, he became the youngest person to win a Stormont seat in South Down. He worked as assistant to the Ulster Unionist leader James Molyneux and then stepped into his shoes as MP for Lagan Valley in 1997. He was part of the talks team in the negotiations which led to the signing of the Good Friday Agreement. But just as the deal was nearing completion, an angry Donaldson staged a dramatic walkout from the talks at Castle Buildings. Although he remained in the party, he was a constant thorn in the side of the then leader David Trimble. Eventually in 2003, he quit the party alongside fellow dissident Ulster Unionists Arlene Foster and Nora Beer. It came as no surprise when just a month later he announced he was joining the DUP.
Today we are announcing our decision to join the Ulster Democratic Unionist Party, to become members of that party, to participate in the negotiations with them, to work for the change that the people of Northern Ireland have voted for.
Again, he quickly rose through the ranks. He was part of the St Andrews Agreement negotiations and sat behind Ian Paisley in Stormont in March 2007 when the DUP leader and the Sinn Féin president Gerry Adams announced they had reached an accord to share power. But 2 years later, he was caught up in the Westminster expenses scandal. He later apologised for claiming back the cost of hotel pay-per-view films on his parliamentary expenses, repaying more than £550 to the Commons Fees Office. In 2017, he played a pivotal role negotiating the Confidence and Supply Agreement, which propped up Theresa May's minority Conservative government. But the relationship eventually soured, and when Boris Johnson won a snap general election in December 2019, the DUP's leverage evaporated. To Unionist fury, the eventual Brexit deal with the EU resulted in the protocol, which left Northern Ireland being treated differently to the rest of the UK. 2 years later, Donaldson was again at the centre of the action when the DUP suffered very public leadership convulsions. After Arlene Foster was ousted as leader, Donaldson put his name forward to succeed her, but it was Edwin Poots who took the top job.
What a lovely day.
But after an internal party revolt a month later, Mr Poots resigned and Sir Jeffrey finally took over as leader. His first order of business was trying to find a way to resolve the post-Brexit trading arrangements, which had by that stage led to the collapse of the Stormont institutions. Intense negotiations resulted in the Safeguarding the Union Agreement, which Jeffrey Donaldson claimed had removed the Irish sea border, although critics, including some within his own party, insisted it didn't. Donaldson led the charge in support of the deal.
Today, because of the stirring up that is going on, I was threatened.
Days later, at a late-night DUP party conference, the DUP agreed to back the deal.
I believe that with the faithful delivery of this package of measures, hard work and dedication, we will be able to look back on this moment as the defining time when Northern Ireland's place within the Union was safeguarded and our place within the United Kingdom internal market was restored.
Within days, Stormont returned. It was yet another success for the Unionist dealmaker-in-chief. Stormont back, he was the toast of Washington during the annual St Patrick's Day celebrations. But within a month, one of the biggest political bombshells in Northern Ireland's history dropped. A political career spanning 40 years came crashing down in one shocking instant.
Sarah Clark reporting. With me now in the studio, Suzanne Breen and Alex Keane. Suzanne, a couple of hours out from this verdict, a few hours, what do you make of it?
Well, I've been a journalist for 35 years and I have known Jeffrey Donaldson for that entire time. Never ever did I think that it would end like this for him. I knew him in his days in the Ulster Unionists, then leading the fight against David Trimble over the Good Friday Agreement when he jumped to the DUP. You know, sometimes I would have talked to him every day. He was always, as a journalist, very approachable, very open to the media. And I remember just a few weeks before he was charged, he was at the height of his powers. He was in the throne room in Hillsborough Castle with Chris Heaton Harris, and he had found his mojo. He was selling this deal very strongly, and even though he had been in politics for 4 decades, you felt like the best politically was still to come for him.
Did you think he had any inkling of what was coming down the line?
Obviously, there was rumblings in the background, but I don't think he expected to be arrested in the manner in which he was. And talking to a lot of DUP politicians, they say that they are just stunned that he was running around trying to put out fires, sending messages, having meetings over the years, and yet he continued to function so smoothly as a politician.
Alex, this was a man you thought you knew well.
Well, I did think I knew him well. I met him first in 1985 when he won the by-election to the Northern Ireland Assembly. He's 22 years old. Next thing you know, he's in Jim Molyneux's seat as an MP. Then he carried through, senior figure in the Ulster Unionist Party. At every major negotiation, he was there, every function. Loved by the party. I mean, they adored him, Jeffrey Donaldson. And he was, even back then, he was just Jeffrey. You said, somebody needs to talk to Jeff. Everyone knew who you meant. Then to the DUP. Suddenly there, all the influence he carried with him, that, whatever it's charisma, whatever it is now, people thought there was something about this guy. That's how he got his influence. He was affable, as Suzanne says. He was likeable. The Jeffrey Donaldson we saw was, maybe it was an image, maybe it obviously contrived, but it was a very convincing performance because we all thought the same thing about this guy.
Just over 2 years ago, I saw him at Stormont and he was there. He was like a king or a master of everything he surveyed. Stormont was back up. He was beaming from ear to ear.
Well, that's because he wanted to save devolution. But people forget this about Jeffrey Donaldson. They think that the jump to the DUP was anti-agreement. He was never anti-agreement. He was never anti-devolution. He wanted Stormont to work. And at that key period, when people say what happened to him just as he began this selling, it was because they had a clear choice at that point. The whole thing was going to collapse and the DUP would have nowhere to go, or somehow he had to get the DUP to back the deal and get into the Assembly. And that's what mattered to him. He saved, at that moment, he saved devolution.
A very clear statement this evening earlier today from the current leader of the DUP, Gavin Robinson. What do you think the faithful DUP voter will make of what's happened here, Suzanne?
I think they, as the party's representatives will be absolutely aghast. Talking to DUP members and representatives, they feel betrayed. One said to me, look, you know, maybe everybody has skeletons in their cupboard, but we never suspected anything like this. This is not like staggering out of a pub with a few drinks too many. One thing that did come up in talking to a lot of people was that they felt that in some ways they never really knew Jeffrey. He wouldn't talk about his personal life. If people said, you know, what they did with their wives at the weekend, they had a nice meal or things like that, Jeffrey was happy talking about politics, but when the conversation veered into that more private area, he really shut it down. He didn't volunteer much information.
It strikes me that he was someone who could very easily, in the end, it now appears, Alex, compartmentalise all the different areas of his life.
Well, that's clearly what he did too. And I think, as I said, whether it was an image or not, that affability was important to his political career. But I think it's worth saying that while we are saying how shocked we were, and we didn't see this coming, there are hundreds of people now, maybe thousands of people watching this programme right now who I hope will realise that no matter who the person is, if they're carrying baggage, if they're carrying grief, if something happened to them, go forward, report it. Because what this has shown more than anything else, it doesn't matter a damn who you are in politics. It doesn't matter anything about your societal position or your titles. If a jury gets to hear you, they will listen to you.
Between you two, you've followed politics for decades. How shocked were you and how shocked have you been and how shocked will you continue to be by all of this?
Well, look, I think everybody remembers the moment when they first heard that Jeffrey Donaldson was facing these charges, and everybody will remember where they were when that jury verdict came in. We looked at the faces of the DUP people today at the press conference, and you could just see they are still reeling from this, and this will be hard to get over, even though they've handled it in a textbook manner. The fact was that the party was branded around him, and that is potentially a bit of a problem moving forward.
In terms of politics, plenty said on that front, but we have to go back, you know, behind this, two very strong women, two victims who hopefully now can begin somehow to rebuild their lives, Alex.
It will be extraordinarily difficult because they have the lifelong anonymity unless they come out and decide to tell their story. But I said that the big thing, I'll say it again now because I think it's worth saying, for those people who have watched this, we watch it as journalists and commentators, other people watch it out of lurid interest, but there are a lot of people watching this thinking, that's me, that's my story, that's my life. And for all the things we say, oh, we didn't expect this, we didn't know this, and how we were misled, and how shocked we were, and so on, the reality is we're not hurting right now. We're not wondering where our next step is. So to the two women, who, as they are now, they have demonstrated enormous courage. And all the way through that crisis and court case, not a word from him.
A few closing thoughts from yourself this evening. We've about 20 to 30 seconds left, Suzanne.
They are courage personified, and they are vindicated by this jury verdict. It was a unanimous verdict, and it was guilty on all counts. So those women have been very, very brave, and they did the right thing.
And in a sentence, looking to the future, Alex, for them?
I think it depends what they choose to do now, because a lot of people will be saying, tell us the full story, tell us more, you know, identify yourself, because sometimes identifying helps other people.
Alex Keane and Suzanne Breen, thank you for joining us on Up Close tonight. So this evening, as Jeffrey Donaldson prepares to spend his first night behind bars, he does so in the knowledge that the judge has warned him to expect a lengthy sentence. Now, if you or someone you know have been affected by any of the issues raised in tonight's programme, search UTV News for support information. There's also extensive coverage on the UTV website. For now, though, from me and all the team here at UTV, thank you for watching and a very good evening.